Even calling a mental illness has a tendency to put it off to the side and make it something different, make it something secret, something special. We forget about the person, and we forget that through our language or what we're talking about or our actions, that we are furthering that stigma. The wrong message may be going out there that mentally ill people or people that struggle with mental illness can be violent, with the school shootings and other types of things. But more likely, statistics show that someone with mental illness is more likely to be the victim of violence than to be violent. We all know somebody who's struggled with anxiety or depression or whatever it is. If they had a broken leg, they would go to the doctor. If they had the flu, I think that we fall into that same pattern of looking at this as being a different animal, a different type of disease, or saying that this is someone with schizophrenia instead of someone who's actually a person. My story is that of a family member of someone who struggled with mental illness. When I was 3 years old, my father had a brain abscess on the left side of his brain where he had surgery and had both physical and mental illness resulting from the abscess and the surgery. He was paralyzed in the right side, but also had mental illness and mental problems due to that exact same abscess that caused the physical problems. Growing up, Dad kind of became the thing to be avoided. He would think that the house was bugged. He thought that things on the wall had certain symbolism to them, and if they weren't just straight, he would maybe break everything on the wall. So it was something that we hid. My sister and I would not talk about it when we were growing up. We didn't want to bring friends home because if Dad was having either an agitated episode, or he was paranoid, or he was right on the verge of ready to explode, it's very difficult to explain to your friends what was going on with your dad. I think that my experience growing up primarily was the first step in my journey to being not only a physician but then a psychiatrist. I think that it helped me empathize and be a better doctor. I think it helped me better understand the real challenges and the real issues that the person dealing with those mental health issues were going through, and then also how better to help the family cope with some of those things that were going on. As you go through training, you sometimes learn to defocus on the person. You're looking more at the illness and the treatment and the diagnosis, etc. You're not looking at actually the individual themselves. And I think that's something we struggle with as psychiatrists or counselors. We'll talk about this as a 32-year-old schizophrenic who's come in with hallucinations. We have a tendency to not focus on that person as an individual, that person as a mind and a body and a family and a life. I'm optimistic that we as a society can start thinking about mental illness, can start thinking about the stigma that's associated with mental illness. The educational system is there, the avenues for telling people and communicating about mental illness is there, and that we can put this where cancer was 40 or 50 years ago, where we don't look at it as being something that you might catch, or that's something that is to be looked down on or to be hidden in a closet. There's a lot of different places that people can learn about mental illness and mental health symptoms, such as the National Alliance of the Mentally Ill. There are websites such as the CDC website, the NIMH website. Just understanding what these symptoms are, that these are treatable illnesses, that there is hope for people with mental illness, and helping our loved one or our friend or ourselves realize that it's not something to be ashamed of, that it's not something to be hidden. I think that when we as a society get together and really push towards something, I think we can accomplish great things. And I really think it's the time for us to really address it and really stamp out the stigma of mental illness.